Welcome to the Celeritas Director Commentary Series, Episode 3.
Hey, this is Alexander Adell, creator of Celeritas, and this is Director Commentary for Celeritas Episode 3. I'm here with Ryan Coleman.
Hello.
If you like Celeritas and you like this kind of storytelling, please follow me on Instagram at an account called ZA_output, where I'm documenting a few times a week the process of writing a brand new screenplay. All of the twists and turns, the challenges of taking story notes and meetings with managers, how to solve story problems and how to think about structure. And anyway, if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. Let's want to listen to a few minutes? Unless you just you got burning stuff to talk about.
Oh no, we're gonna talk about space morphine. Let's get going. Let's get professional.
That's right. Get
No more fucking around.
No more fucking around, Ryan.
This is serious stuff we're doing here.
Holy shit.
One comment recently was this guy paid per grunt?
Oh, my chair thing works. Computer, how many swings left?
0 swings remaining.
Oh, thank God.
Gravity assist path completed successfully.
Damage report.
Minor damage to multiple systems. Turbo pump exhaust manifold 32% integrity. Port maneuvering subsystem 2 offline. Heat exchanger.
All right.
These lines.
I got it,
So
I got
much
it.
research to get each one of those lines.
Any communication for mission control?
Negative.
And they go by so quick.
I know.
What day is it?
They need a sound,
19 hours since data failure. Please set current date and time.
You're not getting this, are you?
Medical alert. You've sustained possible injuries. Run diagnostics.
Sure.
Initiating CT scan. For concussion, follow the dot on the main screen. No evidence of occult bleeding. Minor concussion. Simple fractures on ribs R6, R7 and L6.
A lot of that stuff was for my sister, who's in the medical profession.
It helped out with that.
Yeah, where phrases like
Speed and
occult meeting and stuff like that.
The sun is visible through the rear camera. Current velocity, approximately 73,000 kilometers per second.
We did it. In reverse, no less. Computer, please calculate the fastest gravity assist path into Earth orbit.
It took me a while to figure out, I kind of had this image in my head, of a spaceship flying toward the sun. And I was like, well, if he's doing burns to slow down, then he's going to be going backwards. It's like a somewhat less cool image.
Neutral optimism scenario requires 12 swings about the sun and 6 planets. Rendezvous in 8.4 years.
After all that, I'm just gonna fucking starve to death?
Medication printer on.
Pizza Advil, I guess. Please print 20 milligrams C17H19 and O3.
Synthesis initiated.
So,
I'm assuming that's the scientific compound.
I think in episode 1 he mentions that he's a chemist. I had this idea that there would be places throughout where his chemistry background came into play. This was kind of the first one where it was like, oh, this guy knows his compounds.
And so this is a machine that could theoretically print ibuprofen,
Print anything.
Tylenol,
Yeah.
any kind of chemical compound.
And things like this are starting to exist. That's science fiction, but it's
A couple decades away.
probably not too far.
And if you were going to go on a serious space journey, you would need something like that.
either you're functioning perfectly, and we're an impossible distance from Earth, hundreds of years in the future, or you're wrong, and that's just some fucking star, and we're getting really lost really fast.
Synthesis complete.
Wow. Space morphine.
There it is.
Fine. This doomed fucking boat.
All the drugs in this show kick in really fast.
Yes. Well, it's synthesized.
That's right.
You would think it would be very fast acting.
That's right.
Now, is this you? Is this
Kind
your
of.
composition?
Yeah. Kind of. Like I borrowed things and reversed them and used weird samples. But the intention was very much to have sort of a 70s
Magnesium
hallucination.
Film
We're
presents
headed to somewhere in India
Episode
for our
3.
space morphine.
After the show, join our Discord
I think I was like,
bonus
I
content,
don't know.
in-depth
I
discussion.
just thought Space
and
Morphine
AMAs
was
with the
funny.
creators.
Like I
It's
wanted
hilarious.
to
Slashespod.com.
like I knew it was a little like drugs in space. Like I love the idea of drugs in space.
Doctor's appointment went away.
But
Or walking seems
I was
worse.
aware that it was a little ridiculous. So
but it's
played it
progressing
up a little
slower than most. She's apparently 5th percentile.
Dad, what's that?
What?
So this is our first flashback, our first like legit flashback.
Okay, so the space morphine kicked in.
Yeah. So that's the voice of Owen Keating's ex-wife, Chandra Keating, played by Norma Jean, who is in Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon.
How'd you land her?
I went to an event in Austin, an entertainment event, but I was new in town and just wanted to kind of get to know the entertainment community. They have a portion of this particular meetup has a little open mic at the beginning. If there's anything you need from the community, get up and ask for it, and here's a bunch of people that'll listen.
Austin's a pretty vibrant filmmaking community.
Yeah, it's like 50-ish people at these things. I mean, they're great. Everyone's very chill, and I was pretty terrified. You know, I'd only made a few episodes. I'd only made 2 episodes, and I just moved to Austin. The first 2 episodes I made in California, and then I moved to Austin, and needed an actress. And I went to one of these events, and I was like, you know,
You walked up on the.
and I got,
podium?
and I was terrified. You know, I have the sci-fi podcast, that only has 2 episodes up. It was very early days, and I was like, we're looking for an actress. So if this sounds interesting to you, come talk to me. And she did. She seemed amazing. We hit it off. Legit actress with a lot of credits, and
Which is a great find. I mean, when people talk about how are you going to find excellent actors, and you got to put yourself out there.
And she was excellent. I mean, she was so much fun to work with. She's such a pro. She took direction really well, had great ideas, and really understood the character. This was sort of Norma Jean's first scene, and then she's in the whole show.
And she also recorded herself.
Yeah.
Sent it to you, even though she was in Austin. You never did a face-to-face recording performance with her?
No, we never did.
That's awesome.
She would be in her car, and you know, we'd be on FaceTime.
Did she say to you, this is by far the most unique acting gig I've had so far?
Yeah, it's so crazy. But she was great, you know? What's great about actors is they know that there's always going to be some hoops to jump through. Making anything is so hard. And the weird hoop for this show was you need to find some sort of space that's very dampened sound, where you're not going to get any echoes, and it's not going to be in a room. It's maybe under a bunch of blankets, or maybe in a car. She was totally game.
Yeah, great performance by her.
Clem, that's a launch pad.
Oh. Is that where the spaceship is gonna take off?
Kind of.
So this is where I learned my greatest trick, I think, in the whole experience. So, you know, the first 2 episodes, the lines I needed Penelope to read, she could just say whatever she wanted, or whatever I wanted her to say. It was super simple. That was it. Just use my phone, just hanging out. I didn't worry about the sound quality, because I knew it was going to be processed all to hell, and I just wasn't that worried about it. But as I started writing these later episodes, I really wanted a performance out of her. I really wanted her to be part of the story. I really wanted to underscore this father-daughter relationship, and so I wanted her pretty legitimately to be a character in the show through these flashbacks and stuff. So I would write it as if she was a professional actor, and I'd give her all the lines that served the story. So I brought her these lines, the flashback where she sees the spaceship and stuff, and she wasn't that into it. She was a little confused. It didn't seem like it was very fun for her. So I was like, all right, we'll try again tomorrow, and I'll think about how to maybe do this better. And I was reading her to sleep, and she loves these books called Piggy and Elephant, and they're very funny, but they have a lot of wide emotional swings. They're very upset, and then they're very happy. She loved these books so much that she basically memorized them. So I was reading to her. She's like, "Can I do Piggy?" Because she'd memorized all of Piggy's lines for the book. And
she's already an actor in practice.
Yeah. She's like,
learning her lines.
Totally. She's like, I want to do Piggy. I was like, okay, I'll do Elephant. So I did Elephant's lines, and she was doing Piggy. And because it's a pretty emotional thing, Piggy's very sad and Piggy's very happy, she would look at the picture of Piggy, and then I would see her face do it. Her face would mimic Piggy's face. and she would say it really sad, and then Piggy would be super happy, and she would say it super happy because she could see the picture of how it was supposed to be.
For a reference point.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute. If I make a comic, if I make a children's book with the lines I need Penelope to say, with drawings of the girl's emotions, of how she's saying them, I can get this level of performance out of her. And the way she was doing Piggy's lines were great. It was spot on.
This is genius.
And so I found this program online where I can make comics really fast, kind of drag and drop comics. And you can drag characters, you can do facial expressions. And so I made a comic strip of this scene. And I had a rocket ship in the background, and I had a little girl. I kind of got into it. Like, I kind of had fun with the software. You can put them in different outfits. And
what was the name of the software?
It's called Pixton. Pixton.
Okay.
And I actually have all these comics up on Discord. And that became my process for the rest of the show. Part of writing an episode was making a comic for all of Penelope's lines. And she loved it. And she'd be like, do you have a comic for me? And we would... we would lay down a bedtime routine because her room is like filled with blankets and she has like a bunk bed over her bed, so it's actually relatively dampened sound in her room. So I would, when it was time to record, I'd be like, Pen, is it okay if during bedtime routine we record some lines for Daddy's show? And she'd be like, do you have a comic? And I'd be like, yep. And so I'd pull the comic up on my phone and bring the recorder, and she just crushed it.
And how many times would you have her read through, or is it the first take?
Like a few.
Basically, you'd see the emotion, you'd see the line just a couple times, and then it was memorized. And
it wasn't even memorized. No, we would just read through it, and I'd be like, hey, can you try that again a little quieter, a little faster? And she would do it, and then we'd move on to the next one, and I'd be like, ooh, try that a little crazier, a little louder, and she would do it crazier and louder, and then.
So that was the fee. Was you need to make me a comic?
Make me a comic. It was great. She was pretty amazing.
A really big rocket is going to take me and my little ship up to orbit, and then we'll get out, fly from there.
For you and a half?
Uh-oh. Golf cart means business.
Aunt Abby.
Hi, Clementine. Hi, Chandra. Owen, I need to borrow you for a few minutes. It's urgent.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I'll have him back to you in just a second.
We'll be at the pond.
Is there a problem with the engine?
No, but our conference rooms are bugged.
They are?
We got some bad news today, and we have a plan to address it.
The bugs?
So
No,
this
that's
is.
all.
There's very few moments where you can throw in some comedic elements into your story, and this is one of those great ones where you just have Owen playing the straight man.
Yeah, just a workaday engineer.
We are? Okay. But it works great because you're providing exposition in a funny way. And the engine room was pretty wild too. How long did it take to make that sound?
Oh my god. That whole
authentic,
set.
where you felt okay now we're actually in this setting and it's believable.
It was a lot. I was finding tons of machine sounds. I needed forklifts rolling around. I needed huge hydraulic sounds going everywhere. I had this image in my head of like this, when you see pictures of rocket ships being built, it's these huge spaces, but there's still people wearing hazmat suits and there's machines everywhere, engine testing blocks. It was a lot of work building this set, trying to layer all the different audio and thinking about left and right. Where is everything? How far away are things? Just trying to build that space.
It's so much work just to make it sound believable, even though that's all it's for. Just
to get a check mark of, oh, that's where they are. Yeah, I just wanted to sound real. I just wanted to feel immersed in that kind of space. I had this idea that they were up on a catwalk, up on some sort of metal. You hear their steps like clunk, 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 kind of looking down at all this engineering mayhem. And it's funny, why? Why make it that hard? Why not? I could. There's just a little bit of exposition in the scene where they talk about
the true intention of
the thing. It could have been done in a conference room, and I think actually when I first wrote it was in a conference room. And it was just boring. It was just a boring exposition scene. And once again, I'm like, well, how can I get them yelling about this exposition? Literally.
So exposition is always better if you can figure out a way to scream it or yell it.
You just yell find some way to yell.
Friction and Annoyance.
I was like, well, that would be really cool. Go see the Celeritas. Let people sort of feel what it's like to work at a space company.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the spaces of a space company to make the company feel big? You know, if you always just hear them talking in conferences, you're like, is this a space company? You know, or the rocket ships? I want to hear the rocket ships. And so the idea of having them around, you know, a day at work, and they're on this campus that has a pond, the CEO's rolling around in golf carts, see the launch pad, Clementine's like, is that where your ship is going to take off? You know, so I wanted to have this big set, you know, where you sort of felt like, oh, Celeritas is a big fucking company. And there's warehouses, and there's rocket ships, and there's ponds, and just a big, beautiful, very well-funded company.
So, as you know, we have some classified projects, some of which even you don't know about.
Sure.
The last round of funding saved the company, but it wasn't purely for beam propulsion.
Oh.
What the investors care about right now is the variant. And there's something we can do. That you can do.
That's quite a pivot from spaceflight.
There is an angle. Without an atom precision simulation of the human body, medical science has hit a speed limit.
The TOE.
Right.
We've talked about this. There's no data we can gather at less than 70% of light that gets us any closer.
Yell
What
it.
if I told you that was possible?
What is there, a hyperspace department I don't know about?
When in doubt,
Well,
Yell the exposition.
yell that.
everything is okay, but at a safe distance, about halfway to Mars, we've successfully conceived a black hole. There's no danger. In fact, it's collapsing.
Wait, you're kidding.
No, this is real.
Trying to have this scene where someone tells an employee that they built a black hole and not have it seem silly seemed like a really big challenge. It's just a big stretch by any measure. I don't even know how successful it was, because there is a thing in storytelling where you can sort of tell when you're twisting yourself in knots to go from point A to point B. Like, some stories, it's very simple. You know, of course they have to get from point A to point B. And then some stories are like, oh, we have to twist ourselves in knots in order to, like, get to this point B that we really want. And you can feel it when it's happening. And this is such a complex story that you can feel some of that knot twisting. Like, it's a space company and they're doing this thing to help medical science. It's like all such a stretch.
But, I mean, that's sort of the knock on tech companies anyways, is that they're always claiming that the whole point is to help make the world better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she's sort of following that mode of, oh, we're only doing this because we want humanity to live in a better place and make $1 trillion.
That's
but
right.
no one needs to know about
That's right.
that part.
That's right. And it is a classic startup thing to pivot, to realize that your original idea is not what the market wants. We have a hammer that we spent a lot of money building, but no one wants to hammer this nail anymore. How do we use this hammer to do something else? Then you have to twist yourself in knots as a company to, like, oh yeah, we can solve that problem too using our amazing thing that we built to do this other thing. Yeah, so I mean, that's in there, but this scene felt like a really big challenge because it's a lot of exposition, which is hard. It's a flashback, which is hard. And the information she's giving him is crazy. This was one of those moments where you don't really know what's going to happen in this scene until you write it. I was like, this is going to be a hard scene to write. And you want to authentically respond. I tried not to decide what Owen was going to say when she told him this, because how do you respond to it? I mean, it's insane, right? Someone really tells you that.
We might have created a black hole.
Yeah, I think it was a few revs in or something where I was like, he just wouldn't say anything. That's just crazy. And so he doesn't respond. And she keeps offering information. And I realized while writing the scene, I was like, it's too crazy. He would just quit. He would just walk out. It's insane. This is an insane person that he's working for. He would just leave.
Yeah, and he's got some personal stuff going on in his life.
Yeah.
And he's in a way he's more distracted by that than hearing this information. It's almost, this isn't a revelation to him as much as a confirmation of, I need to get out of here so I can just focus on my kid and not deal with people who are stretching the fabric of the universe
Yeah,
or our solar system.
or who are just insane.
Yeah.
Like, I think I wanted him to start to be like, this woman's nuts. And that was one of the moments I was like, what the hell do I do now? He just quit. And, then I was like, well, it's okay. He'll go back. But the audience needs to see him quit. The audience needs to see him react rationally to this. If he's like, oh, cool, I'm into it. Like, you're not going to... You're no longer invested in him as a character. He's clearly not like a rational person. He had to quit. So anyway, that was a funny surprise while writing it.
I know. Please hear me out. If we can get a sensor in there before it collapses, that light speed data could unify all of physics. Then we can spin up a real human simulation, bounce a billion tests off of it in parallel, and this disease, all diseases, could be cured in seconds.
Your weird particle accelerator project.
Yeah.
So, in the recording session with Erica Alperin, who plays Abby Moulton, in the script I have it, there's these jet engines going. I know the scene's going to have a lot of interesting stuff to maybe smuggle in all this exposition. I think if there's a lot of noise and she's kind of having to yell over it, it'll feel like a somewhat interesting scene, and maybe I'll sneak some of that exposition in there. In the recording session with Erica, I'm having to describe this stuff to her and be like, you have to yell really loud. Pretend you're right behind a jet engine trying to yell something at someone. But not like you're mad.
Yeah, you just need the volume up.
Just yell like you're trying to explain something in the middle of a hurricane. And she
aggression.
And she totally got it. Anyway, I think she kind of nailed that.
Yep.
And you fed it with my beams.
Now you're caught up. And the Vega's the only thing that'll get there in time. I bet the company on this.
That's the other thing, is like, okay, fine, so just send in a probe, right? Just send in a satellite. And so I had to be like, there's nothing ready. Like, this is the only thing that's ready.
This is the only thing that can actually get there.
This is the only thing that's built and ready right now. And I was like, okay, I think I'll allow it.
This is it.
I quit.
You could save her, Owen. All of them.
That was quick.
Clem, can Daddy have a hug?
Daddy, can you make me a boat to play with?
Sure. Here, try this big leaf.
This is all the comic book as well?
She needs you here.
Daddy, your book's not very good. This Daisy's gonna be at sale.
The sail. Computer. Recalculate the Earth orbit rendezvous with the polo sail fully deployed, going astern.
Neutral optimism scenario. Rendezvous in 235 days.
Marvelous. Not dead yet.
That's Inventions, by the way. This music.
Okay.
Computer,
Matthew Cooper and
deploy the polo to 100%.
Explosives in the
Execute the
sky.
path.
Initiating. Polo container extended. Polo container open. Initiating centripetal deploy rotation.
Beautiful. Like a daisy.
Polo 25% deployed.
Yeah, it's great use of that
Polo
music.
50% deployed.
Yeah, it's like hopeful.
8.5 million square foot graphene parachute.
Polo deploy complete.
Thanks. Wish you were a little more excited. What was that?
Impact detected on Polo sail. Integrity compromised.
Fuck.
In the can. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
See you soon. Hey, this is Alexander Adell, creator of Solaritus. I'm building my next project in public, and I'd love to have you along for the train wreck of the creative process. Just follow ZA_output on Instagram. It's going to be a mess. Drop by and say hi. I hope to see you there. All right, now back to the show.